Hi guys, it's Rachel. So today I have a very different video and it's more of a vlog style video. And I hesitated about doing this video on my American channel because I haven't found that there's a ton of interest in this, but I'm excited to see what you guys think. So this video is all about my job. So I sometimes get questions about it and it's something that I'm really passionate about. And it's really interesting, I think, to see the correlation between my YouTube channel and my job now, and it's really kind of something that I wanted to tell you guys about. So it's really my story of how I went from being a girl in a small town in Kentucky to living in New York after college and really having the job of my dreams. And I hope this is in some ways inspiring for you guys. I think it's important. I always try to remember the thing about YouTube is it's really an empowering way for people to share their stories, and with makeup tutorials and things like this, it's really about making women feel good about themselves, feeling beautiful. So I hope this video is something similar to that. So anyway, long story short, no, because it's gonna be a long story. But I grew up, I kind of grew up all over. I moved around a lot as a kid. I was born in Southern California, and that's where my parents are from, but I moved to Minnesota, to Michigan, and then when I was 11, we ended up in Lexington, Kentucky, and that's kind of where I spent, obviously, most of my life kind of growing up. So when I was in high school, I was really interested in theater, and that's kind of a reason that I think I love YouTube, is it's kind of a way to express myself. But I loved theater, and that was the way I got into makeup also, because I did a stage makeup class and I just fell in love with stage makeup and big scars and fairy makeup and all that kind of fun stuff. But it kind of trickled into just fun everyday makeup. So when I thought about going to college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I really wanted to be an actress, but I think I realized that it was a dream that I really did love, but I had a lot of other passions in life, and I thought I'd rather kind of go with something that I think will have more of a future and I more of a long-term road. You know, my dad is a corporate business guy, and I think he helped encourage me to think about other roads beyond being an actress. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think that I decided to go with some of my other passions, and I'm very happy about that. So in high school was when I first started learning French, and I became really passionate about the language, and I studied abroad through a Sister Cities program. I lived abroad for a summer in Caen, outside of Caen, which is in Normandy. It's a beautiful city, and that was really how I kind of cultivated my love for the French language. And I also loved English. I was writing every day. I loved poetry and literature and really everything about it. So when I got to college, well, so when I started looking for colleges, I didn't know what I wanted at all. I knew I didn't want to go too far away from home, but far enough that I felt independent and like I could really kind of live my own life. And my parents actually really encouraged that, which I love about them, is that they, you know, I think that because they kind of left their home and surroundings, they realized that there's something great about that, and kind of getting away from your normal hometown can really inspire you to do great things and to have new experiences. So I decided to go to school in Nashville at Belmont University, where I graduated in 2012. So I was a French and English double major, and which was kind of funny. Belmont is not at all known for those degrees. It's actually mostly a music business school, but I just love the atmosphere of the campus. It's a wonderful, wonderful school, and it just had so much loving energy that I just loved it. And to this day, I would never regret my decision to go there, even though it wasn't a specialized school in English or in French or had anything to do really with what I do now. But I went to school there for 4 years, and I studied abroad my junior year. The spring semester of my junior year, I studied abroad in France in a town called Angers, which is in the Loire Valley, a beautiful town, a little bit smaller. I think there's a population of like 200,000, but wonderful, wonderful experience. I was able to travel a lot and really get a handle on my French, and I think studying abroad is the only way to truly learn a language, and that's what I did. So when I came back, well, let me rewind a little bit. So in college, I started selling Mark. So Mark is a brand of Avon. So I became a representative right when I started college, and it was a choice that I just made for fun because I wanted to meet new people, and I loved makeup, and I wasn't quite ready to get a full job, but I wanted something that would be fun, way to maybe make a little extra money for my freshman year. So I started selling Mark. I would have little parties in my dorm, and I met all the girls on my floor, and it was really a fun way to both meet people, because when I went to Belmont, I didn't know anyone that went there. And I think that was actually really liberating. You know, as much as I loved high school, as much as I had great relationships in high school, it was a way to kind of reinvent myself and have a totally different experience, and I will never regret that. In a new city that I loved, and I still love Nashville so much. I'm just kind of mumbling, I know. But anyway, so I was selling Mark, and one day on the Mark representative website, there was an announcement for an internship in New York City. And I remember the headline was like, imagine your summer in the Big Apple. And for me, it was just like, oh my God, yes. So the interns, they were looking for 12 interns for totally different fields. There was a creative intern, PR intern, X, Y, and Z. And I applied for the internship. I remember I skipped class that day. I spent the whole day working on my essay and my resume, which literally probably said I was a lifeguard, and I never did anything else. You know, this was after my freshman year of college. So I submitted my essay and crossed my fingers, and I was contacted by them a couple months later for a phone interview. And I remember I was so nervous. I put on like a literal suit in my dorm room. It was a phone interview, but I put on a suit, I locked the door, and I put a sign on the door that said like, interview in progress, do not knock, do not bother. And so I had a phone interview with the wonderful woman named Janet, and you'll see she'll come back later in the story, but I had a phone interview, and I was just happy to have a phone interview. And a couple months later, I remember I was at home for spring break, and they called to say that I got the internship, and I remember screaming so loud that my mother literally came down the stairs and thought I was dying. So, and my parents were so proud. So I was 18 years old, and I got on a plane to New York. I was an intern. I was a social media intern. So that was like the new kind of intern that they were looking for, which was awesome. So it was a totally new experience. I really didn't know anything about social media at that point. Obviously, I had a Facebook, I had a Twitter, I loved twit pics, you know, all that kind of stuff, but it was still a very new media, especially for business. So I moved to New York, and I was staying at Columbia University. That's where our housing was, and I stayed with all the other Mark interns who are wonderful women. We're actually having a Mark intern reunion coming up here at the end of the month, which I think is amazing because so many of the interns that I worked with now live in New York and have great jobs in the beauty industry because the program was so incredible. The Mark internship program, I just can't even say enough good things about it. It really fosters just so much creativity. You don't get coffee. You have a real project. You have a mentor. And my mentor, Anne-Marie, is my #1 mentor. Just so much patience and care. She's just such a wonderful woman. And if you're watching this, Anne-Marie, hi. So I was given a project, and I was working on a campaign with Lauren Conrad, who was at that point the Mark spokesperson, and it was a Facebook application to win lunch with Lauren Conrad, and it was really amazing. I got to work with Facebook. They helped with the ad campaign, sorry, and then I also got to work with our creative agency in creating the app, which was just awesome. And then at the end of the internship, it was I think a 12-week internship, I presented everything I had done. At that point the contest was live, and to all the senior management, all the interns got to present, which just is amazing. It's every Wednesday we had someone new come in and give a woman in the industry talk about her life. I got to meet Eva Chen that way, who's now editor-in-chief of Lucky magazine. Holy crap. Meredith Kahn, an amazing jewelry designer, among many other women. So that was just an incredible internship, and I remember the internship was over and I was going back to Belmont, and all I could think was, I don't want to go back. I have my dream job, so to speak. I just was so happy in New York, but I obviously knew I wanted to finish my degree, so I went back to Nashville, kept selling Mark, and I asked my boss, Anne-Marie, I said, Anne-Marie, because I launched the Mark Girl Twitter account. We didn't have one when I started, and so I said, Anne-Marie, this Twitter account is my baby. I love it. Can I continue to be a part of the process? And she said, sure. So I became a consultant, technically. So I still ran the Mark Twitter page, the content, responding, all that kind of stuff, while I was at Belmont. So that was an awesome side job in addition to selling Mark. And then I was also working at the Cosmetic Market, which is an awesome little boutique, kind of like a localized Sephora in Nashville. So I was very busy. And so my sophomore year of college was great, but came about to be the summer, and all I knew was, I'm going back to New York. All I want to do is go back to New York. I want to work. And so I contacted Anne-Marie and I said, Anne-Marie, I know I can't be an intern again, but I have to find a way to come back to New York. Do you have any suggestions? What should I do? I want to work for you. So she said, sure, come back, work for me. You know, you'll be a consultant and you can help me work on different projects. So I went back the next summer after my sophomore year, and I was a consultant, which was actually really fun too, because all the interns were coming in from that class, and so I was like kind of like the graduated intern, so kind of helping all the girls find their way was really fun. And I still have some good friends that were part of that second year of interns. So what was amazing was that summer my project with Anne-Marie was to research YouTube, because that was when Michelle Phan was signed to Lancome. Brands were really trying to figure out, what is YouTube? You know, it was a social media that was kind of neglected by brands in a lot of ways, especially in beauty, even though there was so much conversation going on. So that was incredible. I got to, I worked on a lot of vlogger mailing, so I would create packages for YouTubers, email them, really get to know them, and send them these personalized packages of our products to let them try them out. And also, I worked a little bit on a sponsorship that we did with Elle and Blair Fowler, which was incredible. I got the chance to meet them. They came into the New York offices, and we worked on a sponsorship program with them. I helped make videos for it. I was like the real Mark rep, and they talked about what it was like to be representative. I'll put the videos in the down bar in case you guys are interested. But that was incredible to work with really big YouTubers, and just even to be able to meet them was awesome. They're very, very sweet. What else? So, of course, it was in doing all this research and learning so much about YouTube that I really became interested in starting my own channel. So I started my own channels, very casual, more of just a research level, and of course I fell in love with it. I continued to make videos when I got back to Nashville, and it was even harder to go back to Nashville that second time because I wasn't technically an intern, I was a consultant, and it just felt like I had a dream job. And I wasn't living at Columbia, I subletted a place in Greenpoint in Brooklyn, and I just really felt at home. I had an apartment, I was living there with my best friend Amy, and it was just awesome. And it was very hard to go back, but had to finish my degree. So went back to Nashville, was still running the Mark Twitter, and then I also started working on the Mark Facebook page while I was still in school. And then my junior year was when I studied abroad in France, which was an amazing experience. I can't say enough about studying abroad. If you guys are interested in learning more about study abroad, or if that's something that's interesting to you, leave a comment down below and like that comment, or just kind of let me know, and I would be happy to make a video about that if you guys want some tips for studying abroad, because it was honestly one of the best decisions I ever made. So studying abroad, and you know, I was my junior year, and so really when I came back from studying abroad for my senior year, all I could think about was how to get back to New York. I want to work in the beauty industry. You know, it was so deeply important to me. And finding a job is so tough, especially in an industry like beauty, music. You know, those hard jobs are very tough to find. So I started really kind of looking at jobs, but my goal was really just to work at Marc. I thought that that was kind of my next step, was to be a full-time employee at Marc, continuing in social media. I was still in close contact with Anne-Marie, but things started changing at Marc, like they do at companies all the time. So people started shifting and moving to different companies, and including my boss Anne-Marie. She now works for HSN in Florida. She has a wonderful job there, and I just freaked out. I thought to myself, my dream is gone. All I ever wanted to do was be a Marc girl, and now I just don't think it's gonna happen. Anne-Marie's not there anymore, and I was no longer managing the Twitter and Facebook after she left, so I just was really upset, to be honest. And so I called Anne-Marie and talked to her, and basically, you know, I realized, she told me, and it was just kind of kismet, that it was like, why would you be upset? You now know people that work at tons of different brands that knew you, that knew your work ethic when you were at Marc, when you were an intern. So that's when I really got down to it. I made this crazy Excel sheet of any company I would consider working for, be it a publication like Refinery 29, of course all the beauty brands, Revlon, L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, X, Y, and Z, but also some other kind of tech startups, because that was very interesting to me. So places like Warby Parker, I was really interested in, and PR was still at the top of my mind. So anyway, I was looking really seriously at jobs and kind of contacting anyone that I'd worked with at Marc, and just to see if I could set up just an informal meeting with them when I was going to, so I planned a trip to New York in April over Easter break, which was kind of like, it's coming, it's almost graduation. So I went to New York for Easter and had some meetings all over the place: Birchbox, Warby Parker, Refinery 29, and Estee Lauder. And at Estee Lauder, I talked to Janet, who was the woman who gave me my phone interview when I was just an 18-year-old girl, and just such a wonderful woman, so empowering. And she is the vice president of sales at Origin. So she said, you know, I think that we have some turnover in our social media department, and we're looking for a community manager. And obviously that was like, ding, 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 ding. That is what I want to do. And so I told her that, and a couple weeks later, I had a phone interview with someone in HR for Origins. And this was like probably May, so a little bit before I graduated, had the first phone interview. And I knew that I had to move to New York. I knew that the interview process would all be in New York, and so even if I didn't have the job, I needed to move here, and it was my dream anyway. So I moved here. I graduated on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2012, and moved to New York at the end of May. And I moved to this apartment. I live in Williamsburg, East Williamsburg, which I love. I always wanted to live in Brooklyn. It's such a fun, hip village. It's not a village. It's a neighborhood. What is wrong with me? Anyway, so moved to Williamsburg, and I started working freelance. So when I first moved here, I was working part-time for Small Girls PR, which is a wonderful Brooklyn-based PR firm. Very small little agency of basically two girls who founded it, that I had met at South by Southwest that year, and they asked me if I would come on as kind of a freelance intern kind of a thing. And then I was also freelancing for fashism.com, which is a really cool website that I was involved with. Just started uploading photos and met the founders when I was an intern, and they hired me freelance to write some of their blog posts, X, Y, and Z. But all during that time that I was freelancing, my heart was set on this Origins job, and I was going through the interview process, and I had, you guys, no joke, 5 interviews for this job, and they were tough interviews. And anyway, so the last interview was with my current boss, whose name is Mark, and he he asked me some tough questions, you guys. I was laughing. But I basically, long story short, I was hired September of this past year, September 2012. So it's almost 1 year that I've been with Estee Lauder with the brand Origins. If you don't know, Estee Lauder owned a ton of wonderful brands, including MAC, Bobbi Brown, Bumble and Bumble, Aveda, Origins, Clinique. So it's a huge, great company to work for, especially in the beauty industry. And, you know, I'm a community manager, so I manage our Facebook and Twitter accounts. And I also still do my vlogger mailings, because that's something I'm very passionate about, is working with vloggers. And I also did a hangout with Alexandra XO, if you guys know her. She's a wonderful YouTuber. We did a collaboration with her and Glamour, which I'll link in the down bar. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm so happy. I found the job of my dreams. I live in New York, and to be honest, what I really wanted to say was that when I was being interviewed, something that came up a lot was my YouTube channel, and they had a lot of questions about it. And if you guys don't know, I also have a YouTube channel in French, so I have 2 YouTube channels. The French one is actually more popular than this one. Anyway, but 2 channels, and they had a lot of questions about what is it like to be, you know, a YouTuber, what, you know, how do you set up your channel, what X, Y, and Z, and having that expertise, which I didn't even realize I had, but kind of understanding an evolving platform like YouTube really put me ahead in my job search. And to this day, you know, one of the reasons I know for a fact I was hired is because of my experience with YouTube, and because having a YouTube channel is not just about doing your hair and doing your makeup. It's a way of expression, and it's building a brand. You know, you build a whole brand, you do the marketing, you know, just posting your links to Facebook and Twitter and managing all those accounts. I think people don't realize, but being a YouTube, you know, any kind of YouTuber, it takes a lot of effort, and I think that is something that really helped me get ahead. So to me, just going from being a girl in a small town and now having this wonderful job that I care so much about in the industry I always wanted to work in is just a dream. So that's my story. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to talk more about my job, or interviews, or high school or college or anything like that. If you guys have questions about that, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found this interesting. I know it was a little long, and I'll see you guys next time.